disability, widowhood, old age, or other likelihood in circumstance beyond his control. This declaration recognizes the fact that there are situations that one or more of these may not be affordable by a specific person, but the fact that the person is a human being, that person should have this right. A mechanism should be made available to ensure that the person does not just have the right, the person can access and use this right. The second one of interest is the United Nations General Assembly meeting, which was held on 23rd September 2019. One of the decisions, the outcome of that meeting, is that universal health coverage should be adopted so that we move together to build a healthier world. Now, the rationale behind this is that when there is a sickness or a health challenge at the doorstep of your neighbor, there is a health challenge at your doorstep. Look at what happened to us when we had the pandemic in 2019-2020. All the way from China, the whole world was affected. So it is imperative, it is important that we start looking beyond ourselves and looking around us to ensure that the world around us is healthy. And then lastly, coming home to Nigeria, the presidential summit that made a declaration on universal health coverage in the year 2014, and part of it says achieving financial protection and access to quality essential health care services where it affects us, because we are one of the organs or one of the services that contribute to the quality of care, and also access to safe, effective, quality, and affordable essential medicine and vaccines for all. So that is target 3.8 of the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide, please. So with this, we want to know what are those things that tell us whether we are actually achieving universal health coverage or not. What are those indicators that are measured? The first indicator is to look at our total health expenditure as a percentage of the gross domestic product. And the recommended is that it should be at least between 4 to 5% of the GDP. The second indicator is how much of the out-of-pocket expenditure that the country is spending on health. And it is recommended that it should not exceed 30 to 40% of the total expenditure on health. Then the third indicator is the coverage with prepayments and risk pooling schemes, that it should be able to cover at least greater than 90% of the population. So what this universal health coverage is saying is that 90% of Nigerians will access quality health care, whether they can afford it or they cannot afford it. And then 100% of the individuals that are under the vulnerable population will receive assistance and also safety net programs. You know, this vulnerable group don't even have enough resources to subscribe to any form of insurance. So provision must be made to meet the health needs of the vulnerable group. And at least 80% of the poorest and 40% of the population have effective coverage to quality healthcare service. So if you look at the universal health coverage, the concept is huge. The opportunities are many. The challenges also naturally will be many. Let's go to the next slide. So in the next slide, please. So now this slide, unfortunately, our projection is not wonderful, but I will try to explain what it's trying to do. It's actually looking at the total health expenditure. Remember, the target is that it should not exceed, that out-of-pocket expenditure should not exceed 30%. Now, what we have observed is that in the government expenditures, you notice that it is dropping. The amount that government is spending on health and health insurance is coming down. And not only is it coming down, the amount in terms of units, the three graphs are in single-digit units, but the one on the top right quadrant is on a double digit. Now, each of these three, be it from government, be it from the private or corporate environment or the donor mandate and NGOs, the expenditure is dropping. But the household expenditure is on the increase. And if we check in our own individual life, this is what happens. Many of us have, in quotes, NHIS before now. But even with that NHIS, there is a lot of limits. You go there for drugs, the drugs they will give you, they will tell you, but we can give you a better one if you are willing to pay. So you end up accessing the service and you are paying for most of the service instead of the other way around. What therefore means is that somehow two levels of standard of care exist. One standard of care for the NHIS and another standard of care for those that can afford it. So the natural tendency is that if you can afford it, you do out-of-pocket expenditure. Then there are also a number of disorders or health issues that are not covered by the previous NHIS scheme. The scheme is also structured that assuming you have up to 6 children, you may not be able to enroll the whole of that 6. And naturally, you know, the younger ones will be the ones that are always in and out of a hospital. Maybe you've completed your enrollment of 4. Those two, these are all of the factors that are affecting the household expenditure. Next slide. Now, unfortunately, divisions is also poor, but I'll also try to explain this. Now, the last area on the graph is what is the target. But if you look across over the years, the out-of-pocket expenditure is much more above the target of 30 to 40%. So obviously there was a problem with what we had before. So next slide. Now, in order to address these issues, the government of Nigeria have just approved, or the National Assembly have just passed into law the National Health Insurance Authority Act, this 2020, and it is being implemented. And what is the mechanism that is involved in this act to improve what we currently have in the country? The first mechanism is that the 50% of the fund will be managed by the National Health Insurance Authority at the national level, whereas 45% of the fund will be managed by the National Health Primary Healthcare Development Agency. And what will this fund do is primarily to strengthen the primary healthcare services, while 5% will be kept for emergency care, so that when there is a health emergency, just go ahead and attend. In short, there's even a jail, punishment for not attending to health under this act, because fund has been provided for emergencies. The instruction, the act says, attend first and then subscribe for the money. Now, we also have interesting new concepts into this new act. The first one is that there will be counterpart funding from the states and local governments, and they are now expected to be at a They are also expected to be at the core of the implementation of the National Health Act. It's also expected that the attendant service of school arising from application of this funding will assist Nigeria to achieve universal health coverage. So what this act has done is to open up the source of the funding, so that more funds will come in. This more funds is not everybody that subscribes that will utilize the fund, but that pool will be now used to ensure that the service reaches the vulnerable group, the poor of the poorest, and that quality service is even available to the subscribers. Then, but for this to happen, something is very critical, and that thing is resource mobilization and accountability. We know Nigeria and the peculiarities of our country. Thank you very much. If these resources are not appropriately mobilized and accounted for, all of this becomes an academic exercise. And as we speak, 19 states of the country have already started implementing. There are different levels of implementation of the universal health coverage, but only about 5% of the population is covered. Next slide, please. So we look at the benefits of this new National Health Insurance Act and the challenges. The first key benefit is that it's going to reduce the financial strain we are currently experiencing with the NHIS scheme. It will also integrate all employers and employees in both the public and private sector. Once you are a private sector organization and you have at least up to 5 staff, this act makes it compulsory that you must enroll. It will also integrate the informal sector, like the traders. They have opportunity to also subscribe to this. The businessmen, the artisans, at whatever level, there is opportunity for you to subscribe. And then there is subsidy for health insurance for vulnerable persons within this fund, and then payment of health insurance premiums for indigents. The indigents do not need to contribute. They are registered and identified as indigents, and they access through this funding. Now, what are the envisaged challenges with the implementation? Our weak budget implementation system. If you notice, health, with the amount assigned to health every year, it will go up this year, come down, go up, and always around 4%. So that has been a problem. And then the shortage and misdistribution of qualified health personnel. Naturally, the qualified health workers, by virtue of infrastructure and other reasons, flock around the developed areas more than the rural areas. And then we have populations in the rural areas who also desire and should enjoy the right to quality health. So this skew is a major challenge. Then the fact that the enrollment policy is optional also makes it challenging, because some organizations or individuals will hide behind one or more reasons not to enroll. And then the concept of insurance generally is unpopular among people who are not working for any state, be it state or federal government. The apathy to insurance is there naturally. People always feel that the insurance program will not, at the end of the day, benefit them. And then, so we need to, there's need to build confidence in people that that will not be the case at this time. And then the challenge that there is lack of amenities. I mean, if you look around, how many PHCs are actually functional? And the PHC is supposed to be a functional unit of this scheme. And then inconsistent prioritization of health. The priority we give to health, both at different state level, at federal level, and institutional level, vary. And finally, the recent challenge of staff leaving the country to look for greener pastures, and the equivalent replacement of such personnel not happening within the system. Next slide. So let us start coming to medical lab services and what all of this means for us. We'll start with the first thing of defining what is a medical laboratory. Simply a place where tests are carried out on clinical specimens to obtain information about the health of the patient and to aid in the diagnosis, treatment, and prevention of a disease. And this healthcare providers depend so much on the outcome of the lab tests we do for them to take decisions or diagnosis. It will also support them on how they monitor therapy or support the management and care of the patient, and also for screening to know if certain disorders exist within certain specific areas. So within the context of universal health coverage, you can actually, it's not possible to operate universal health coverage without medical laboratory services. Next presentation. Now, what is the traditional role we have hitherto been playing within the concept of the National Health Insurance Scheme, or even within the concept of our hospital. Our basic role has been that we examine and analyze blood and body fluids, tissues and cells, and the outcome of this analysis is communicated to the physicians. Then we use different equipment that are available in the laboratory to be able to produce these results. We are involved in cross-matching of blood, especially at the level of the primary health care for transfusions of children from mothers, accident cases, and all those things. Then procurement of laboratory equipment and consumables. We have been involved in this. We also are involved in monitoring patient outcomes, and then establishing quality assurance programs to monitor and ensure the accuracy of test results. This is part of what we are supposed to be doing routine, even though that we barely find this when we go out to see that. This service also supervises the medical lab technicians and the medical laboratory assistants. It also offers training, either in-service or out-service training, or even for our undergraduate students, for those that are doing internship, and even for foreign graduates. The service also supports research in their different institutions, and then of course advice on test selection and use. There is nothing I've stated here that is not things we are currently doing on day-to-day basis. But the big question is, within this concept, is this role enough? Obviously, no, this role is not enough. We need to identify other critical roles, crucial roles that are happening probably at very little level. Some are happening at programmatic level, some are happening at regulatory level. But we need to expand it in order to actually participate and effectively contribute to universal health coverage. So the next slide. So what are those crucial roles we need to discuss this morning? We need to play a critical role in the structure of every institution. This is not speaking just to us in the State Ministry of Health, or probably in our teaching hospitals to create a directorate for people. No. This is a structural challenge that we have. Even when you go to HMO, you do not see a clear-cut Department of Medical Laboratory Services. So it goes beyond politics to actual service delivery and impact. So we need to have this role clearly delineated. The role of the medical laboratory services that will effectively coordinate, support quality development and policy deployment. When this is lacking, we keep having the challenge we have. Our colleagues in the private sector will always tell you that what they pay for the lab test is peanuts. How will it not be peanuts when the man that is advising on that test is suggesting a fee that you know cannot produce that result? So we need to have deliberate strategy to ensure that across institutions, be it at federal, at the National Health Insurance Authority, at the individual state health insurance authority, at the different agencies, that there is a clear-cut Department of Medical Laboratory Services. It may not all happen the same day, but we need to start working towards it. Then another role we need to take up and take up seriously is to do a mapping of labs to deliberately plan for equitable access to diagnostic tests. Let me tell you the truth. We are competing with churches. We are competing with different institutions, traditional institutions, for patients, for care. The primary driving factor is one, the cost of hospital. The second driving factor, our attitude. The third driving factor is that good services are not available. Now, if we do not do this proper mapping and provide these services at this point, or even provide referral systems for them to link into, we will be losing out on universal health coverage. Another key role that we need to bring to the front is quality assurance of our point of care tests, and you know the recent self-testing kits that is being advocated by WHO to enhance universal health coverage. The quality assurance of these kits are very, very important. So that will frustrate the universal health coverage. Then the validation and verification of methods and equipment. You know, we struggle so much for so many things, but the basic ones we are supposed to do, we barely do it. We go out to the field. You rarely can find anybody that is developing new methods or even adapting a method, a standard method, to the peculiarities of our environment. It barely happens. Neither do we see verification reports. And then we need to tell ourselves the truth. You say EQ is expensive, but something happened with this COVID that taught us a lesson as a professional group. We like our level of service at a very rudimentary level. Investors came in, put in money, put in so quality assurance, put in so many things, and they took off the market, they made the money away. So we also need to learn to prioritize on things like quality assurance, quality control. Quality has cost implication. It does not come cheap. Also, the same applies to accreditation and certification. There must be a mechanism where our quality can be evaluated, assessed, and be identified, placed where it belongs. Whether it is a 1-star lab, 2-star lab, 3-star lab, 4-star lab. Now, at the laboratory technical working group level, and even at African level, they've made decision that the minimum for a lab to operate in Nigeria will be 2-star level. And this will catch up with us if we do not improve our practices. Next slide, please. Now, we also need to start with evaluation of and proper deployment of new technologies. What we have currently is that our colleagues in the universities are reached out to and they evaluate these technologies, make their comments. But we only get to hear about them when we come to conferences. But this needs to change. Because if we do not know technologies that are available, how can we now make our systems much more efficient? Then we also need, as a service group, to start looking at our lab human resource employment and retention. There are institutions where the last employment they did was 6-7 years ago, and people are leaving every day. So the remaining workforce is overwhelmed, they can barely cook, and nobody is coming into the system. Then also supply chain management is huge because that is one of the mechanisms through which we can make universal health coverage work. If we do not deploy mechanisms that make the consumables and the reagents available at the point of service at a highly moderated price, it will be difficult for our colleagues to compete. So what do we have? We go back to a system where you go to a hospital, the hospital will say they need all the lab tests. They don't even have equipment, human resource to do that. And then response to emerging and re-emerging diseases, we need to be on our toes. In terms of the response does not need to be structural. In terms of coordination, reporting mechanisms, notification mechanisms that are available, these mechanisms exist. It's just that we do not have direct laboratory links into those mechanisms. We need to reactivate those mechanisms, the links, and have direct linkage. And this will happen. Part of why it's not happening is because of the structural effect that you do not have the Department of Medical Lab Services in many of these institutions, which should have been the appropriate immediate constituency of reporting for us. So that makes the information they lose us. It is only when it gets to the epidemiologist or the clinician that we start hearing that there is a problem within that environment. Now also we need to support pre and post surveillance, market surveillance for in vitro diagnostics. The council is currently evaluating IVDs. How many of us request IVDs that have been validated by council for use? We are the ones to create this market. Nobody will create it for us. When we go to talk to administrators, they will tell us, but it is your people that are using it. Even the marketers will tell you, it's your people that are using it. But our people that are using it are not even requesting for this format of quality. And then what we also need to do is that we should start looking at our laboratory data collection, how we administer it and how we use it. Because that is the only way we can prove using data that if we do not have the opportunity to participate at the highest level of decision making in this universal health coverage concept, already the country will not succeed with that concept. Now, clinical optimization of our operational efficiencies is what we were doing today, that we are doing tomorrow, and we plan to do in the next 10 years. We are scientists, we are researchers. There are institutions doing graduating students every year, and they do research. But we've not been able to take this operational research done, the output of the research, and translate it to clinical efficiency, and then biosafety and biosecurity considerations. The biosafety and biosecurity is huge now. It is still evolving within the country, but we need to do more as a service, a deliberate strategy by the medical laboratory services to embrace the concept, implement it within our institutions, and through that mechanism enhance on both quality and safety of professionals. Next slide, please. So it is very obvious from this presentation that the medical laboratory is one of the most used resource of the healthcare system. Everybody accesses the lab, even though they do not want to give it the right recognition that it requires. But the first thing that happens from the beginning, head to the toe, from the president to the last Nigeria, from the CFE to the last staff, is that once there is a health challenge, they say, go to the laboratory. So it's the most used resource of the healthcare system. Now, for us as a professional group, and a group that offers a very important service, it is important that we understand these rules that we have and perform them, not just understanding them, deploy deliberate mechanisms, put them up like building blocks of our medical lab services and implement them. Because it's only when we implement them that there will be clinical optimization of our test results. There will also be improved decision making in the health sector, as well as improved cost effectiveness, because what is lost from moving from one point to assess health to the other will be saved, since value quality is available at different levels and at all levels. Then the efficiency of the laboratory clinic interface will evolve, and finally there will be improved patient outcomes. Now, the uniqueness of universal health coverage is that it provides equitable access to quality health care. If at the lowest level, the primary health care, people can access quality, they will not travel to institutions, not within their immediate environment, to access care. The reason why you see everybody in a teaching hospital or an FMC is because there is no quality care at the primary or secondary level. And for this to happen, quality laboratory services is key in achieving a universal health coverage. Next slide, please. I want to say a big thank you very much for the opportunity to present the next slide. And I will not fail to say thank you to the leadership of the association for giving me an opportunity to speak on this, to the Medical Science Council of Nigeria for supporting me with some of the information and making it possible for me to be here, to my colleague Comfort Paloni, who was the one that did the research for the data for me. She's not seated here. Comfort, I want to say big thank you for your support, and then all the original sources of the data shared in this presentation. Thank you very much.
Molecular laboratory and mentorship. She did a decent job dissecting the crucial role of medical laboratory services in attaining universal health coverage. The distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are not through. She is still coming back to the stage, but this time around, not alone. She will be coming back with a couple of panelists, and I will be having two gentlemen in the house this morning that will dissect further this crucial role of universal health coverage. And to do that, permit me, ladies and gentlemen, to invite to the stage Dr. Fasaki Kolawole of the Federal Teaching Hospital at Ado Ekiti. He's in the house. Please a round of applause for him. Oh yes, you can see him looking towering, and I tell you, he is a bundle of knowledge. Thank you very much for coming around, sir. And he's not alone. I will also have Professor A.O. Hassan, the Dean, Faculty of Basic Health Sciences at Chivas University. Please a round of applause for him. Oh yes, at Chivas University, where they achieve a lot. We are so happy. And so Dr. Lorena Okoro, we are not through with you, so please another round of applause for her as she comes back to the stage to join the panelists. All right, I can see her gently seated. Yes, we just got information that it's Professor Z.A. Jeremiah of the Rivers State University, Awka. He's also the president of Hematology and Blood Transfusion Science Society of Nigeria. Please a round of applause for him. Oh yes, we have distinguished scholars in the house, and they are here to take us on the ride. And let's sit back, sit tight, and listen to them as they dissect further the crucial role of medical laboratory services in attaining universal health coverage in Nigeria. Yes, I think they have to come up stage. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are so grateful for you honoring this opportunity of panelists, men of timber and caliber, and trust me, the Female Association of Female Medical Laboratory Sciences of Nigeria President. She is the women leader of all female medical laboratory scientists of Nigeria. Thank you very much for coming around at this juncture. I will open the floor for questions for those of you who have listened intently to what she was able to show us in the last 40 minutes. From you, if you have questions, probably a lot went on in your mind that you needed more clarification. MC Barry, over to you.
Okay, thank you, please. The panel of discussants are going to be discussing both on this very topic that just concluded and also the first one. So please, we'd like Pasaniu, if he's still with us, to please join them. Please, Pasaniu. They will be discussing on both topics, the first paper presentation and the second one. And we'll be given rooms to ask questions. Thank you.
Oh yes, please another round of applause for Dr. Idris Saliu. Yes, I remember when you told us about Rivers 77 National Conference. I can't forget that in a hurry. We are so glad to have you. Welcome, sir. All right, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll be opening the floor now for your questions. I'm sure you will listen attentively to the two lectures we had this morning. Dr. Idris Saliu did a decent job just before we had the second lecture by Dr. Lorena Okoro. So I'll hand over the microphone to these great scholars and erudite scholars in the house. Please a round of applause for them as we hand over.
Thank you very much, the MC, and I want to warmly say a big welcome to our daddy, Idris Saliu. These are one of those that laid one of the foundations of hematology when we joined this profession, and then he is still kicking, and and very well. We thank God for himself. I also want to recognize my colleagues present here with me, Professor Jerry and Dr. Fashaki, who are here with us. We are actually here to take questions or to provide further information on the two presentations that we had this morning. We will be doing it standing on the existing protocol, but with a very obvious recognition of some of our father who is seated right before us. We respect your presence in our midst. So I know at the appropriate time, the appropriate introduction will be done. So we would like to take questions. Maybe we take in order of 2 questions per presentation first. Any question for the first one by Idris? We are having our old Mr. Manasseh, son, is number 1. Questions and contributions are actually welcome. Your number 2, Vice President, notice is number 2. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, yes. My brother, sir. Emmanuel is number 3. Good morning, sir. Any other person? Okay, so we need the ball rolling. So you, okay, we have a photo. Okay, sir. Prof is number 4. So please give Mr. Manasseh the first mic.
Thank you. Hello. My question is across both presentations. All of them talk immensely about quality, whether it's production of anti-sterile or provision quality laboratory care for universal health coverage. Is it realistic for us to be talking about this universal health coverage or production of these things, considering how immensely resources is required to just maintain quality? Vis-a-vis poor funding or budgetary allocation to health, and the disadvantage of medical laboratory services in terms of the health resources allocation. Should we talk of this quality and how realistic are these qualities achievable in the next maybe 5 to 10 years? Thank you.
Thank you. So the second person, please.
Landing of the protocol. Having had a beautiful presentation, especially from that of Dr. I want to ask this question because at the cost of the presentation, I make mention of the critical role in the production of many medical laboratory technicians in our system. In the universal coverage, we discovered that the primary health care, being sincere to ourselves, we know that the Medical Laboratory Council, Medical Officers Council of Nigeria, is not well represented. To be very honest with you, the policy establishing the medical laboratory, the national primary health care in 2007 gave the list of the staffs that are to be employed. I discovered that medical laboratory is not mentioned. It's not mentioned. Not until 2017 that advocate was made. And as I'm talking to you, as I'm talking this morning, that there is no statutory or chronogram by the government of Nigeria that specifies the Directorate of Medical Laboratory Services in the national government. So in achieving this universal health coverage, the council needs to wake up with their situation. So I want to call before the floor we have, since you are the deputy minister of the council, what are we still doing in ensuring that we have our feet in the comprehensive universal health coverage in Nigeria? Thank you.
And thank you very much. Sir, we have a third question.
Let's take these two.
All right.
Thank you very much for your very well-designed question. I think I will stand up and say I agree with you if I remember that I went to a teaching hospital and they didn't have the hematocrit centrifuge and they were using a bench centrifuge to do fast-fed volume. So, what we know we cannot practice. However, setting standards means that we have to be able to assess where we are and what we can do. As far as I'm concerned personally, we have all it takes to meet those standards. It is because we do not have the right policies and we do not address issues as they come. I go back to my own practice. I taught people how to use ELISA when I was a young man. I am an old man now, and many laboratories where they should be using ELISA are not still using it. It is not because they don't have knowledge of using it. It is because the system does not buy ELISA. So if we think that way, we are doing it true. But why is it that there are people who can do more, who have now left doing ELISA and they are doing molecular sequencing and the rest of them? So we can't have rubber and khaki joining together at the same time. We have to move forward and we have to do this according to the dictates of the time. As for my presentation and preparation of convalescent plasma and immunoglobulins, I'll tell you what Namibia did. They didn't have capacity to do nucleic acid testing, but they have the knowledge that if they do nucleic acid testing, the plasma from Namibia will be picked up by contractor plasma fractionators, and it gives them the opportunity of cutting down the cost of blood transfusion in their country, because when they sell the plasma, they actually make more than 1/3 of their blood transfusion budget. So what they did is to send samples of their blood to South Africa, where they're doing nucleic acid testing. And they announced that they're doing nucleic acid testing. So the MCC of the companies that make plasma immunoglobulins go there and they meet all the standards that they expect. So they started buying from them. Today, Namibia is using nucleic acid testing themselves. They're no longer going into South Africa. Now, if you set up a lab in here, and you say they're going to be using nucleic acid testing, and that everybody should promote that laboratory, everybody will want to have their own nucleic acid testing. It's not going to be possible. So, because we don't like to centralize institutions, we are lagging behind. There is no way a government of Nigeria will buy or will support more than 64 teaching hospitals and so on with such facilities. But in other countries, they work together and they move together. The first time I went to England, they were doing blood transfusion in 32 laboratories. The second time they were doing in 16. They cut it to 4. Now they are only screening for all the 2 million units of blood that they collect annually in 2 places. You will say they have infrastructure. But I tell you that Uganda does not have infrastructure. But there is no place there is no village that doesn't have transport that is communicating from one place to the other. So it's just a question of putting heads together and allowing end users to be part of decision making. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
We have 2 decisive lectures, and to me, the 2 lectures were interwoven. We are talking about universal health coverage, and if I heard very well, universal health coverage is all about providing health for everyone and everywhere. And our father spoke on convalescent plasma and immunoglobulin, which is also part of the universal health coverage, because one of the things that we are looking for to make health worthwhile is the provision of vaccines and how to curb the infectious diseases that are prevalent or are facing us right now. Now let me start
can you please further direct? The MC, please. Thank you.
Let's now put our hands together for the finalists. Thank you very much. Please, Idris and Dr. Lorena Okor, the President will present your slide.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, once again, let us put our hands together for them, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please, I'd like to invite very quickly Professor Ogefere of the University of Benin, and also, okay, let's start with him first to make the first presentation of Blake, saying thank you to the presenter, that's Pa Idris Saniu. Professor Ogefere, please. Please, a round of applause for Professor Ogefere as he comes to make presentation. And also Dr. T.Y. Rahim is also here. He will also make presentation. Please give the plate to T.Y. Rahim for Dr. Lorena. Dr. Lorena, please give the plate to Dr. T.Y. Rahim. The plaque of Dr. Lorena should be given to T.Y. Rahim, please.
Hello, colleagues. It is said that a woman is given what is expected. I know Dr. Lorena Okoro was not expecting anything from the association. But the association has seen what she has done today as deserving of this unique award. Therefore, on behalf of the Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, I'm pleased to present this unique symbol of appreciation to Dr. Lorena Okoro. Being a recognition and appreciation of the special presentation which you have made today. On behalf of all of us, this presentation and recognition is signed by Professor James Gavin, the National President, Association of Medical Laboratory Sciences of Nigeria. Congratulations.
Please, a round of applause. Thank you. We'd like to invite quickly Professor Ogefere to also make a presentation saying thank you to our Dagi, Pa Idris Saniu, Country Director, Safe Blood for Africa.
and stop this movement, please. 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 Let us help ourselves, please, and sit down and settle down, please. The exchange of pleasantries is okay. We've done a lot, most especially those in the front row. Let us please help ourselves. The ICT, they've not been able to transmit and project what is going on here due to the noise. So we'd like us to help ourselves and at least minimize the noise, especially from behind and if possibly from our elders at the front too, please. It is very important for us all. I would like to say good morning to us all once again, or good afternoon. As we said earlier on, this is the 58th Annual Scientific Conference and Workshop. We would like to start with the introduction of guests. As usual, please, if your name is not called upon, that does not mean you're not honored or respected by this great profession. But as usual, let's know that we are chairmen and chairladies at our respective seats. It is very important. This year's theme is art, and it's already written boldly: health system strengthening, sustaining quality medical laboratory practice beyond the COVID-19 era. And we have multiple speakers that will be speaking to us later on to demystify the mysteries behind the diseases and let us know the way forward and to know how we're going to further succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to acknowledge, first of all, the presence of us here. We have a team led by our National Publicity Secretary, Olusoji Belleros. Please can we put our hands together for him? He's my organ at the top of this very office. I remain my humble self. My name is Barry, MC Barry, aka Ben Barry, a graduate from the College of the Institute of Federal University of Polytechnic, APU Jos. If you say that school, no day, I used to be that one. I have HND in outside electronics, BSc Yoruba Engineering, and a master's degree in Igbo Mentality Money Technology. Yes, now give me that, Thank you. I will be anchoring this very program alone. I'm here with my two lieutenants, very wonderful persons. Michael Idoko is here with me, also known as MC Magnet. He is also a medical laboratory scientist. I am a chemical pathologist by specialization, and he is also one of us. Please a round of applause. He is a pathologist. Hematologist, I beg your pardon. Michael Idoko, you'll be hearing more from him. And a woman amongst men is here with us. If you know the FM radio station of our Oga Ayefele, now the Fresh FM. She's here to anchor with us. FM station, they know her as Fresh Mama. Yes, but for here, we will be addressing our Ola Fortune of Moshola. Please put your hands together for her. Thank you. We would like to acknowledge in a very special way His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, though not here. We would also like to acknowledge in a very special way the former President of this very nation that did his bit to take this nation to greater heights, in person of our Engineer Chief Olusegun Aremu Obasanjo, GCFR. Please put your hands together for him. He is not here with us, but he has traveled to the country. But later on, when it's time to speak to us, we will be hearing from him virtually. We acknowledge his presence also. We also like to acknowledge, though in absentia, the Senate President of this nation, Senator Dr. Ahmed Lawan. We also like to acknowledge the presence of the Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Badabiamila. The Minister of Health, though unavoidably Minister of State for Health, Enukama Joseph Nkama. We acknowledge his presence also in a very special way. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, we would like to let us know that the chairman of this occasion is on his way. Once he comes, we are going to reintroduce him and bring him straight to the high table. We know him very well. He is Honorable Yemi Adaramodu, a politician and APC chieftain with the House of Representatives, a member representing the South, West, Ikere, Oshun, and Ishe constituency. We would like to acknowledge his presence. Once he comes, we're going to reintroduce him. He said, okay, thank you for that. We would also like to, in a very special way, acknowledge the #1 man in the heads of affairs of this great association, the silent achiever. We would like to let us know that Professor James Garba is in the house. Can we please put our hands together for him? Please, the movement is becoming too much, like I said earlier on. The committee, please, can you please help us out? Those standing in front, like I said earlier on, this is a conference. Please, the exchange of pleasantries, let us try as much as possible to reduce the place. Please, it is important. We would also like to acknowledge in a very special way the presence of the Registrar CEO of the Medical Laboratory Science Council of Nigeria, a title holder in Zamfara State, Wakil After of Tafe Emirates, and also a title holder in South Zamfara State. Dr. Tosa Irabo, please put your hands together for him. He is here with us, making sure all things go well at the council.
Yes, we also have in our midst the Provost, Federal School of Medical Laboratory Science, JOS. I'm talking about Dr. Obon Sunday Etukudo. I need a round of applause. Oh yes, the fear of Obon is the beginning of wisdom. What is MLS without the name of Obon being mentioned? We love the Obon, and you are one of our pioneers and pillars of this profession. May I also let you know, once upon a time he was the acting registrar of the college, sometimes in 2010. Can we have another round of applause for Dr. Obon Etukudo? Thank you very much. Yes, we also have in our midst Professor Ajiboye. He is the Dean, Faculty of Science, Federal University, Oye-Ekiti. He is representing the Vice Chancellor of the university. Is he in the mess? Please, a round of applause for him. I can see him gallantly seated. Thank you very much for coming around, sir. Yes, we also have Dr. T. Olubode. He's the Director of Health Sciences, Ekiti State University.